Hi there, it's Pal again. I'm talking a bit quietly because I'm in the woods. You might be able to hear the sound of a plane just going and the sound of all the birds and everything here as well. Anyway, this little video is about loneliness and depression. Oh, I think that was an owl. He's up late. And the reason I'm doing this video is for any of you out there feeling lonely, depressed, or struggling with the concept. And I think that at the moment, in much of all I keep hearing is that we're suffering from this epidemic of loneliness and that everybody's depressed and we've got all this stress. And my feeling about that has been, what kind? What kind of loneliness? What kind of depression? What kind of stress? And you see, when I add the word stress, you go, there are all kinds of stresses in life. And there are all kinds of types of loneliness or depression as well. So I've been thinking for a while about writing a book and using these beautiful colours in the forest, because to me this represents all the different colours and the shades of loneliness and depression. But as I was walking through the woods this morning, I came across a different feeling and a different point to make, which was, this is October, almost November, and when you see these incredible colours and you also see all this incredible detritus on the ground as well, and as I was walking down I saw all kinds of beautiful funguses and mosses, and the smell of the earth, the smell of things rotting was so beautiful and clean. And if I was in the city and there'd been a park or some trees along the border and there was all these leaves, people would think, oh, how dirty, we've got to clean this up. If we talk about things rotting, it sounds horrible, doesn't it? But really, when you think about it, especially when you get out somewhere like here in nature, excuse me, my nose is running a little bit, you sort of think how beautiful a life cycle is, how beautiful life and death are. We are not eternal. We are here for a short pocket of time. And it's so important that we embrace life while we are alive. And, we all suffer, I think, from suffering. We all have our moments when we get stuck in a pocket of wallowing, whether it's because of grief or things aren't going the way they want to, or actually, for me at the moment, things are going the way I want them to, and I'm actually struggling with that. There's a plane. So I think I'm actually, at the moment, I'm writing the right book, which is a book about fear of success and how that's our biggest fear and it holds us back. But coming back to loneliness and depression, I have written other books which really talk about that. So my Camino de la Luna series. Now it's a funny series because all the titles are about the things we're heading towards, spiritual principles that are, I guess, the thing. I think people would buy that book because they want to understand, say, forgiveness or anything like that. But actually within those books are a lot of the negatives and the problems and the things that stop us from embracing those spiritual principles and from getting on our own way. And loneliness is one of those things. Depression is one of those things. But when I say is, I mean are. Depression are. Loneliness are. Types of loneliness are. And I think we've developed this fear of being on our own. And I don't have any qualms really about wandering around in the forest, or at least this forest. Although I didn't really wander around late at night last night. It was a bit cold. And I wouldn't want to get lost out here at night. It wouldn't be fun. But, we have this concept of on your own, you're not safe, and with others you are. We have this concept of if you're out and, say, a freelance person, you don't have the same security as somebody who's in a job. And it might not be true. And one of the big things I remember saying when I was on my Camino de Santiago, when I was in Segovia, was I was saying to somebody, the most dangerous thing is sitting behind a desk or in front of the TV at home. And that's why people die of so many health-related problems. And I feel bad saying it, because I don't want somebody who needs the comfort of sitting at home watching TV to feel bad about doing that. But if they want to get out, if you want to get in the woods or go up a mountain or go down a river, it's really hard, because we always see in news reports saying, oh, somebody died of misadventure, somebody went off and had an adventure and it went wrong. But you don't see the news reports about people who just sit there. And I don't want to just sit there. I don't think you do either. So sometimes loneliness is a necessary part of that. It's important to get out. Sometimes we have to let go of the people that we love. We have to let go of the things that we love in order to have an adventure that's going to be something that teaches us, that I'm going to learn from, you're going to learn from. So there's that kind of loneliness, learning to be in solitude, learning to be on our own. But then there's also loneliness of rejection, of not being able to be with the people that we want to be, and understanding why that is, and looking into that, studying our emotions. And there's also the feeling of loneliness, being lonely in a crowd, because you know what? We don't really fit in. And that's okay. What I've learned, there's a big difference between belonging and fitting in. So I always belong with my family, even if I don't fit in. And going into depression, I've written a lot about this, that there are times we have a state of depression that's, I would call hopelessness, when we let go of hope. And we need that. If we end a job, we need to let go of the hope we're going back to that job. If we end a relationship, we need to let go of the hope we're going back to that relationship, but not to lose hope in ever having another relationship. And sadly, it's really important, that stage of depression, in what I would say traditional grief, when we've lost somebody who's died. We need a moment, and more than a moment, to lose the hope that they're coming back. That's so hard. It's so hard. And sometimes we need to come out and be on our own in order to go through those emotions, in order to go through that losing hope and that grieving and the crying and the snotting. And it's okay. It is a part of life. Death is a part of life. And when you look at this cycle and you look at these beautiful colours and this beautiful forest, this cannot happen without things rotting and going back into the earth. In the midst of life, we are in death. And I travelled all the way around the world. I studied with so many people. And I finally went and I studied with an Indian guru in London, Sadhguru. And he said, it came down to something I had written on my website years before, that my job is to help people feel alive. And he said, all you have to do is every day you take the time to remember and really feel that you are alive. And you can achieve so much, this power that we have. And, I'm an English girl in an English country. My power is incredible. What I can write, what I can share, what I can say, what I can do, what I can achieve. And I know I'm incredibly privileged, because there are many places around the world where we don't have that. But I don't want to get into the politics of that. What I'm saying is, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you're alive, you are 100% powerful, because you can change things. You can do things, you can be, you can have, you can live, you can breathe, you can speak. And we are incredible beings, but sometimes we have to acknowledge a life cycle within us. So we are alive, but parts of us are dying off. In the Fear of Success book, I'm talking about how our ego fights so strongly to stay alive. This is the part of us that we have created to stay alive. And it fights really, really hard, because when we are truly ourselves, our ego is not there. Our ego is destroyed. And you can say that in spiritual terms, but it's like losing your best friend. It's like losing a part of who we are. So of course there's loneliness, of course there's depression in there. But we have a choice, because if we let our ego live our lives, we're going to have a life that maybe doesn't have adventures, or has adventures. It might have the adventures, excuse my glasses, it might have the adventures that we don't truly want. It might have the adventures that are right for other people, are right for somebody else. And we have to follow our own path, find our own way. And so sometimes it's very, very difficult. I've actually been struggling last night and today, getting very annoyed with myself and other people, thinking about what do I want, what next, where do I go? And trying to make sure that I'm being truthful about the direction that I'm going on. Is this my path? And I'm feeling confused by that at the moment. So I'm in a kind of like place. But I'm working through it. I'm trying to figure that out. And I think in the end, I know inside what the answer is. But maybe I'm hiding it from my ego so that I can just do it. Sometimes I do things on the quiet and then I turn around and it's done and then the ego goes, oh, didn't realise you were doing that. So sometimes we act like a secret agent in our own life. We tell ourselves lies. Oh, I'm just going here for this. I'm just doing this for that. And we get there, we realise it's something completely different that we came on the journey for, that the adventure was teaching us something quite different. And I think, it all happens perfectly as long as we take the next step, take whatever is the next step, and it will all come together. It will come together and it will come perfectly. And if you have a period of loneliness, if you have a period of depression, what I would say is listen, just listen, silent. Listen to what that is trying to tell you. Listen to the feelings. Learn to understand yourself. And if you can learn to understand yourself, maybe one day you might be able to understand other people. Or maybe not. So you're going to watch this and think I'm either very wise or very stupid. And honestly, at the moment, I'm not quite sure. But I hope this is useful to you. The wind is saying it's time to go. It's starting to rain. I think I need to go and find a nice, warm, dry, cosy pub. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.